Hello and welcome everybody here in Frankfurt and around Europe to today's talk about policymaking and the new European Bauhaus. My name is Carolin Wahnbaek. I'm a journalist mainly reporting for Der Spiegel and Die Zeit with a focus on sustainability in business and with a special focus on the textile industry. But before going into further detail, I would like to first introduce my guests here in the studio. But first and foremost, on the screen, it is my pleasure to welcome the European Commissioner, Mariya Gabriel. She's the Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth. And one of her many priorities is to position Europe as an innovation leader through digital and green transition. And one of the means to achieve this is the new European Bauhaus. Welcome, Mariya Gabriel. Then next to me in the middle, I have Dr. Christian Ehler of the Christian Democratic Union, CDU, part of the European People's Party. He has been a long-standing member of the European Parliament, actually since 2004. And he is a member and coordinator of the Committee on Industry, Research and Energy, and also of the Committee on Culture. And he is definitely one of the leading voices of the creative industry in Europe. Welcome, Christian. And then next to me in the beautiful red dress is Lisa Lang. She's the Associate Director, Innovation and Skills of Euratex, Europe's biggest interest group for the textile and apparel industry. She is one of the women that made it onto one of those famous Forbes lists. She's been decorated as one of Europe's top 50 women in tech. She's definitely a frontline in tech and fashion. And she created, for example, an illuminated Marlene Dietrich dress that is now touring the world. And last but not least, I have Marie-Louise Berg. She is a founding board member of the Fashion Council Germany. She has over 30 years experience in international fashion and lifestyle business. And she's been directing for over 20 years her own agency, Berg Communications. Welcome and thank you all for being here today. So let's talk about policymaking around the new European Bauhaus today. The European Green Deal is very much about climate neutrality. It wants, as we heard from Ursula von der Leyen this morning, it wants the European Union to become climate neutral by latest 2050. And by 2030, that is over the next decade, we want the emissions reduced by at least 55% compared to 1990 levels. The new European Bauhaus is a movement to translate that into real life, a creative movement. It is meant to touch on our lives, on our cities, on our work, on basically everything around us. It's bringing together the creative industry, science and technology for a more sustainable, inclusive European future. Mariya Gabriel, my first question is for you. Within the European Green Deal and the new European Bauhaus, what is the ambition of the EU for the fashion industry to become sustainable? So how does the industry need to change? What kind of targets and milestones are there?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this question. I'm really honored to be in this panel with so distinguished participants. I would like really to say thank you very much. And I think that first we need fashion industry as a key driver for the new European Bauhaus. And I would like to thank the Fashion Council of Germany for your active role as one of our official partners in the new European Bauhaus. So you said it, we have now our climate ambitions, but it's sure that if you'd like to achieve them, we need a change of mindset and we need to preserve an ecosystem approach. So for me, that means that we need to transform our European Green Deal into a new cultural project going beyond the environmental or economic dimensions. And the new European Bauhaus aims exactly that, to translate the Green Deal into a human-centric, tangible experience for everyone and without the fashion industry will not make it. So here, for me, I must say that your contribution is huge because your imaginative, creative, and innovative potential is essential. But these need to be coupled with other aspects. One thing that I would like to mention is education and skills, because for sure we need people equipped with the right skills if you'd like to succeed with the European Green Deal. And that's the same for your industry, for all the creative sectors. And for sure here we need to establish synergies with some of the existing initiatives. We need to use the new Erasmus Plus program. We need to use the opportunities with Horizon Europe program. We need to work closely with the new Education for Climate Coalition. Another important topic for you is one of our main initiatives that we would like to present before the end of the year is a European strategy for sustainable textiles. We would like to adopt it before the end of this year, and we would like to help the sector in this shift to a climate neutral circular economy where products are designed to be more reusable, repairable, recyclable. And that's why we need here your help and your concrete ideas, because what we are claiming now that you have our support to be competitive. We would like to apply circular economy principles to production, products, consumption, and secondary raw materials. But at the same time, we would like to direct investments, research, and innovation. And that's why, for me, the new European Bauhaus with the Green Deal and the fashion industry is a new push in the promotion of sustainability. And I think that it's up to us to work this as an ecosystem, to have concrete initiative, to build synergies, and at the same time to stay as concrete as possible.
Thank you. So are there, within that sustainability program for the textile and fashion industry, are there any concrete targets already in there, or are these being developed at the moment? So is there, like, for example, an aim we have to achieve 30% of circular recycled garments in our collections by, I don't know, 2030 or something? Is there anything that the fashion industry that is listening today needs to get ready for?
Well, I very much hope that we will not impose these objectives without coordinating this with the real needs, capacities, and potential of the sector. And that's why this panel is important, because we are open, we are listening to you. I think that we need to stay coherent with our main objectives, but at the same time to take into consideration your knowledge on the ground, your good practices, and your success stories in order to affirm a European leadership in this field.
Thank you. Thank you, Mariya, Gabriel. My next question is for Dr. Christian Ehler. Christian, let's talk about policy regulations from Brussels and programs to promote the new European Bauhaus. The new European Bauhaus is, amongst other things, about sustainability and circularity. But the fashion industry is also the second most polluting industry worldwide, with extremely high consumption levels of water, pesticides, very high CO2 emissions, and mountains of waste. So despite all the talk, it's still a highly unsustainable industry. What are the requirements from the Green Deal or the new European Bauhaus, or what are the ideas how to get the fashion industry ready in terms of the challenges ahead, in terms of emissions goals, resource consumption, circularity?
I mean, you might call it something like a carrot and stick policy. On the one hand, I mean, it's clear and everyone has to hear the shot. We want to reduce CO2 emissions by 55% on all the industry, on all the production change. And that shows the ambition. And we are now developing the means, due diligence, to follow the production chain in more detail, to ask for a certain transparency for consumers. But on the other hand, I mean, I think the idea about the Bauhaus is not create an utopia, create regulation, create a feeling of pressure. Mm-hmm. It's also that we value the imagination, the potential, the creativity in that sector. And so on the other hand, I mean, for the first time really in European innovation history, we created a program of 2.3 billion euro for this merger of new technologies, of CO2 reduction potential, but also on mere creativity in order to go in that direction. So we don't want to create just pressure, we want to create a vision. And I think that's also embracing the idea that we are talking basically not between politics and industry, we're talking also about consumers. And there we want to have, with the Bauhaus, a kind of positive vision. We want to have new product, attractive product, and not just saying we are living out a dystopia and then brutally we're going to regulate this industry.
So you mentioned a massive amount of money. It's, if I understood correctly, it's 2.3 billion euros set aside for the creative and fashion industry to basically help pave the way for this kind of change that we want. Who can apply there, and what are the conditions?
I think we have in the phase, as Mariya Gabriel had been saying, that yet again, we might be for a moment intelligent enough in politics, and you wouldn't believe actually that we don't want to create a top-down process. What we are doing right now, we started with a program. We are going to create platforms now. We will need that interaction between, yes, the sector, politics on the other hand, but also create the discussion within the sector. Because I mean, there's a lot of things to sort out, what could be plausible achievements, also how to create new products, how to address the consumer. So we're doing both. We're in the very phase in 21 and perhaps a little bit in 22, we're creating these European platforms, that kind of dialogue we need. And then we are going to start the calls, so the spending programs. So even in terms of the allocation process, we are not saying top down, we're going to new fibers, and that is, as my daughter would say, the new hot shit. We want to communicate with the sector, where is the potential, where are the chances, what things we would have to do. And I think that's broader than just technology, which is usually funded by a program like that. We're looking to skills, we're looking to expertise, we are looking to a new merger of talent, so that let's say design and creative ability merges with new technologies. We want to create access to frontier research about new fibers, about organic chemistry. But we want to have these wonderful people looking at that and saying, what could we do? And right now we have this sustainable plastic bag kind of philosophy in the chemical industry. Why not let designers in? Let's see what they can do with innovation. And I think that kind of amalgam is needed to create a vision and to create potential and to make the creativity participate in what is going to happen and to be funded in innovation.
Thank you, Christian. You gave a lot of good hint words, basically, that that help me to pass on the word to Lisa Lang. Lisa, the old Bauhaus, the one that's now 100 years old, one of its headlines basically was "Form follows function." The new European Bauhaus, as you, Mariya Gabriel, once put it, could be the new tagline for the new European Bauhaus could be "Form follows planet." And I like that very much because I thought it developed that old tagline into the 21st century fit tagline for the Bauhaus movement. Lisa, you're representing many creative companies and designers from all around Europe. How will the new European design look like if it follows the planet?
I have a lot of ideas, and they happen to be in a room where an astronaut, a fashion designer, a chemical engineer, and a philosopher have a drink together. Oh. So I think it's like for the learning out of the old Bauhaus, it's like everything stayed open, and a lot of synergies across sectors were welcomed and are part of the normal curriculum. So that's what we now call cross-sector. So that was a given, that was a standard. On the other side also, all of the designers went into the factories. When we, and that's something what in the new age we totally lost. the knowledge how we can make stuff locally and sustainable. True sustainability starts on a very high percentage with the designer in the beginning. But that means the designer needs to know how things get created, from where they really come from. And then we also can demystify a lot of greenwashing as well, just purely with knowledge. And that's also like what I'm very happy to hear from Mariya, that, you know, skills is on the essence. But it actually starts with, we have to retrain the trainers. It's like our, you know, old universities, keep in mind, they were startups at some stage. They were highly innovative. So like we can do this again. On the other side, there's a whole new way of education, a new workflow. You know, we don't have to be in a place. So there are a lot of new opportunities in the spirit of the old Bauhaus. And that's what we have to follow. The way exactly what kind of products that will come in the room. And the thing with innovation, it's always like, it will be totally different than you think in the beginning.
But if you imagine, you've been a designer yourself. You have already, you had a startup design studio already doing a lot of these things, basically combining fashion and tech. I mentioned that dress in the very beginning. So if you now put the planet into the, you take the planet into the horizon, and it, what could be the, how do you imagine a green design? How do you where comes the green element in to the whole discussion?
I think it's like we have achieved full sustainability and innovation and everything green when we even don't have to say those words anymore. So like, you know, fashion always had like a green mindset and an innovative mindset. What happened in the last decades, what the industry made out of it, was something different. But fashion on its own always was true to the planet, very much connected to the planet. Designers are now so important than ever because designers are world travelers. They go and touch emotions, they understand new technologies, they talk with different people, and then they come together and create something new with things which already exist. They just connect the dots. And that is also like a form of sustainability. You know, it's like use all of the resources, pick them up, put them together into something new. Ideally add like at least 3 business models on top of that, which we can. You know, digital is just one of them. But again, everything comes back through knowledge. And the knowledge is not only in our sectors anymore. The knowledge is somewhere else. I want to see a fashion designer seriously going, you know, in maritime technologies, you know, understand what resources we have with algae in our oceans. That, you know, the material we have on the moon, we can, you know, replace concrete with that. And why do we need 3D printers? Maybe we just hack knitting machines instead, right? You know, so like they kind of like sound really like abstract conversations, but I tell you, I'm very sure in the old Bauhaus, when you walked into a classroom and we saw the pictures, we are, you know, don't have a lot of recordings, but I'm very sure there were these kind of conversations.
Thank you. I would have a slightly different question for you as well. We heard from Christian Ehler that there's a lot of funding available for the challenges that the future brings for the creative industry. So how does that sound to you? So is there basically all the money is there, no problem, just companies go out, apply and do what we want them to?
Well, first of all, it's a wonderful opportunity. So like, you know, thank you for that. So, you know, because everything starts with acknowledgement. So like the creative industry has been acknowledged for the first time as like a real thing. Of course, was it there before? Yes. Okay. But, you know, it's officially acknowledged. That means we can now work on projects, calls and data. You know, it's so difficult to put design in bottles. You know, it's like with technology, sometimes it's easier. But again, you know, technology is a tool. What, you know, with design, it's very much we're talking about people, the emotion. So let's start with the positive. However, because like the access to money is now the second question. Like, yes, there is money now, how we can get to it. For the designers, keep in mind that in the framework you have to apply for it, filling out forms and something like that. You're dealing with a system which has been created without the creative industry in mind and without the creative industry's voices while the system was created. So this is a given, and we have to work with it for a while. We can change it slightly. It's very good to hear that like this is a fluid process. I mean, that's what we as designers are used to, fluid. Things are changing all the time. But also, change can also come within. So, designers now have to become more than activists. They have to become activators. So that means you get started, but you also have drag other people with you. So, on a little hint, for instance, all of these calls get reviewed by expert reviewers. Every European citizen can apply to become an expert reviewer. So, we need more designers as expert reviewers in this process, because you might also should review artificial intelligence in context of robotics, and it's good to have a designer in the room to say like, why are we doing this? Does that actually make sense?
Sorry to interrupt. You said that when we talked about this before, you said that there are courses that companies can apply for to learn how to fill out these forms to basically get the application ready for the European funding. So do designers have to become bureaucrats?
No, designers just have to become travelers and just, be willing to learn. Processes. Also, but I actually see the duty here with all of the creative associations on national level and European level to train their members how to get access to these funds. And, with European funds, that means actually you have to work together. So like on a national level and a European level, it's like that's how you get access to funds. But in order for the associations and the networks to be able to teach, the associations have to consolidate and learn first. So it's like, it doesn't matter like how from which angle we look, we end up with education and skills and people. But no, seriously, it's like, but the good thing is like, it's totally tangible and possible and, easy. It's not like, it's not rocket science. There are a lot of workflows out in other industries who they know how to access it, so that you might have to talk with an automotive engineer because they're very well trained how to get access to that. So it's like nothing is hopeless. Don't worry. It's just like, learning new skills.
And basically get together, form innovations, and one of them that you could join, I guess, is Euratex or other industry associations. We have Lulu Berg sitting in our panel here today, and she's representing the Fashion Council Germany. So, Lulu, what are you doing to get the new European Bauhaus movement going in Germany?
Yes, I think after this very emphatic speech from Lisa, which I loved, of course, it's all about togetherness. We learned that if we learned something today already, it's definitely all about togetherness, and that's what our today's conference is all about. And of course, it's a focus on the fashion industry, the fashion business, and we are very happy that the very first time we bring mostly of the European fashion councils together. I think today we are 18, the well-known ones, like from Italy, Camera della Moda, or from France, the Chambre Syndicale, the British Fashion Council, but also from various other countries. And this, I think, is a big step forward. And we also, following this conference, there will be next week already a workshop because we need next steps. And it's not only about fashion today, we also learned it's all is interdisciplinary and cross-section. And we have, as I think we are around 80 speakers today or contributors. So they come from all various sections. And at this point, for togetherness and fighting for the creative industries and the cultural value, but also for the economical and political power of that. Next to me is Christian. He is our, would say, the ambassador and the fighter for the value of the creative industries, which are the crown jewels of Europe, but also the crown jewels of Germany. And as Christian mentioned before, there is now first time for the creative industries the Horizon program. It's funded with, I think, with 2.3 billion euro. That was never before like that. And in Germany, we still are demanding for an political relevance, which we don't have yet. We managed 3 years ago, the very first time, to get political awareness. We were invited in the Chancellor Pavilion from Chancellor Merkel, and we could put out what other countries, what it means creative industries, fashion business in France, in Italy. But also now we fight all together, that's what we learned here, to make a joint forces for the creative industries, and therefore we built up a new coalition. It's called the K3D, which means Koalition der Kultur- und Kreativindustrie in Deutschland. In English, it's something like Coalition of the CCI in Germany. And as Chancellor, sorry to say that, we are very thankful that the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, mentioned that today as the perfect example for getting together and join forces.
Since we have a little bit of time left, I would like to ask Christian again about the creative industry, because in my actually in German, there was, to me, it was all about the cultural industry. And you helped me understand that actually we have the cultural industry, which is like museums and theaters and highly subsidized cultural industries. And then we have the creative industry. Maybe you can explain a little bit more into detail what the relevance and the economic importance is of the creative industry and what you're trying to achieve in Germany while fighting for a political representative on a higher political level within the government. Can you give us a few words about that?
I think in the economically seen, the creative industry had been the white elephant in the room, so to say. I mean, we learned having understood the complexity of the sector, all of a sudden that sector is employing more young people than any other sector. It's bigger altogether than the automotive industry. I mean, if you would have asked the Ministry of Economics in the past, which is your big industry in Germany, it would say the automotive industry. But in real terms, altogether, this industry is bigger than the automotive industry. So economically, it's relevant. Secondly, we see that as if you're an innovation country, you know, we talk a lot about disruptive innovation. We talk about how to achieve in very short time something like the CO2 reduction, digitalization. And we think the merger of innovation and creativity, be it the individual artist, the creator, the designer, be it, let's say, the cultural heritage as a reference frame to all that, that made or will make Europe unique. That's the USP of Europe for the future. We are no longer with Amazon in that same league, but what the creative potential of Europe is unique in the world. And that is a growing understanding in politics. And just to reflect a little bit to the money question, we are smart enough that we are not pretending to be Big Daddy. Politics is learning. Mariya is here to listen. We are listening to this conference. And I think it's important to understand that we're not throwing money on you. It's simply, we are now in the phase that we want to get an idea what cause we are going to design, what is needed. And that's more of a dialogue you might expect. So politics might a little bit more intelligence than you would usually think.
Thank you. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, it's like I'm actually like I'm really excited about this because it gives like a great opportunity to have a dialogue, and especially, you know, in the end of the day, like what Europe is like our cultural heritage, and of course the creative industry is like a huge part of it, and that also means, you know, it's not only it's a positive legacy. You know, there's a lot of discussion around like that because of legacy we can't scale, we can't digitize so much. But like I want to turn that into a positive thing and say like, okay, you know, instead of see everything what happened in the past as bad, it's like no, if we acknowledge and go into our archives and see what's there and get inspired and, you know, lift it up and combine it with the new technologies we've had, with the, you know, with the orchestra of the creative industry, there is so much everywhere in Europe which is there. We just simply just have to connect the dots, and, you know, the conversation with Brussels is just like a piece of the puzzle. Of course, the creative industry itself has to lift itself up. So it's a, you know, for everything, I heard designers for like the last decades, like, what can we do? What's the next thing? Everything has been done. How we can make an impact? The answer is now. That's like, okay, the call has been heard, but it means you have to become active. It means like you have to give and you have to be a part of the conversation. And I'm really glad with, you know, the initiative with K3D. It's like, okay, go there. That's a platform. Talk. It will take a little bit longer, but at least we can start.
Thank you. Thank you for this extra explanation. I would like now to move on to the K3D coalition, and we're going to see a short clip about what this coalition is aiming to achieve and what it is all about. But before that, I would like to thank you all. Thank you very much, Mariya, Gabriel, for joining us today, and to my other three participants here, and for this, to me at least, very interesting talk. Thank you very much.
Caroline.